I walk in one end, he's at the other end. One table, one chair. Sit down with him, young guy. He says, I'm going to franchise an IT company. I said, well, where is it? Where is it? There's no one here. Today I'm on my way to see an entertainment company. They don't do the entertainment, they're not an agency, but they do supply the products used at venues, weddings, that kind of thing. And I mean famous people's weddings. So they're quite a, what's the word? Quite a high profile company that you've never heard of. Anyway, I expect to be talking today about licensing or franchising or letting someone use your brand for money. And
by standing on the wall. Get your back up on the wall. Tell me, baby.
Okay, I've left the event hire company and we did talk about franchising, but actually not really whether it was a model. It was very legal, and I'm not a solicitor and I'm not a lawyer, that's for sure. However, I've met lots of businesses who work with lawyers. So, this is what happened. She said to me at the end, actually, we spent 2 hours talking about email marketing, which I wasn't expecting, but near the end, she says to me, the contract, we don't have a contract with our Scotland franchisee, and we know we should. And so we had an intellectual property advisor, solicitor, come and work with us, paid for by the government, okay, paid for being the words we should remember, paid for by the government. And they came in and they did an IP, intellectual property, audit and told us what we could protect, what our assets were in terms of intellectual property and some other stuff. It was very good, they said. Now they want more money. What for? So 2 things. One is to register the trademark and the other is for a franchise agreement to be drawn up. So tell me more. 800 quid to register the trademark. So I immediately went into, to be honest with you, a defence of legal fees. I'm in the consultancy sector, I'm paid for how long it took me to learn what I know, whatever that may be. And so I have a lot of respect for people who are paid for what they know. Obviously, rather biased. So I said, when you pay your 800 quid, they are using their experience to look at the categories you should be registered in and make sure that your logo is correct and all the rest of it. So, yes. Maybe a bit high, but not excessive for what it is. And they said, we're already in the right categories. Right, when you register a trademark, you cannot register all sectors, all places. Well, you could, but you'd have to pay for it. You actually pick the sectors you want protection in. So we are protected in business consultancy, I think it's management consultancy, and I think we may be protected in advertising. Anyway, the point being, you aren't protected everywhere. You specify, and the intellectual property solicitor's expertise tells you where you most want protection. Well, they said, we know that. When they came on the paid for time, they told us what the categories were. So we can't work out why we can't just go on and register. I said, nor can I. I can't. And that brings us on to an interesting idea, right? Which I was thinking about when I was driving to the meeting. Franchising and trademark protection is a very prescriptive legal process. And there is no doubt in my mind, and I will say this categorically, that there is a right way to do things in law, and it's normally the only way in law. However, I've seen this go wrong many times. And the one that sticks in my mind is I went to see a very small business, a few years ago now, who was doing like children's play clubs. You will not become a millionaire doing children's play clubs unless you're extremely fortunate. But a very worthwhile business. And I talked to her about getting more people to come along and pricing and all that kind of stuff. And we have a brief conversation about trademarking and trademark protection. And I say, because she said one day she'd like to franchise the brand, well, you would need to have intellectual property in place when you do that. I did not say go and register your trademark. For a very good reason. She didn't have any money. I accept legal process is the best way to do things. I also know from meeting many people that if you haven't got the money, spending £1,000 on trademarking might not be the best time. Maybe you should bide your time and take a risk. That's what happened to her. I leave the room. I didn't make this mistake again. I'm very categorical about it when I leave now. I leave the room and she rings up 3 intellectual property companies and says, I gather I might need intellectual property trademark at some point in the future. One of those companies, solicitors, tells her she should do it now, plays the what if card, which is true. If you don't do it now, someone else might. That is true, I accept that. Plays the what if card, scares her a bit. I can woolly it up or make it sound nice if you like, but basically scares her a bit. And she spends 900 quid registering a trademark, money she does not have, and was very pleased when I saw her. And actually, to be honest with you, I think she was maybe a bit worried when I said, why did you do that? And the answer is, it wasn't her fault. She spoke to a solicitor, was sold it as a what if, someone else might get it, not you, and spent 900 quid. Now, if I'm being completely blunt, and I will be, how do you sleep at night when you do that? It is evidently clear that she has no budget, that she's on her own, she's at the earliest stages of business, and yes, she has a logo, but she has no money. Goes out of business. That is the output of that sale. You got 900 quid, you registered a trademark, she went out of business, and she has a trademark that she owns that she can't do anything with. Now, I know lots of intellectual property people, solicitors, and I respect them all. And there are the vast majority of companies and solicitors act in the best interest of their client. And I believe that person was doing the same in their mind. But in reality, killed the company with IP pressure. Not the right time. So I said, do what you want to do to the company today. You decide. The correct way, with minimum risk, pay a solicitor 800 quid. If you decide in your business right now financially, you would register it yourself, knowing the categories, you do that. Be aware of the difference. They moved on to the franchise agreement. 1,500 quid to draw up a standard franchise agreement. Now, I actually think that's quite low based on the ones I've seen drawn up before. However, again, they question it. They are like, is this a fair price? So I don't know. Let's talk about what a franchise agreement is. Franchise agreement does 3 things. 1, what are the minimum performance you as a franchisee have to deliver in this agreement? If you don't, I'll get rid of you. No consequence. It also does, when you use my brand, do it this way. If you use the brand the wrong way, and this is the wrong way specified, I'll get rid of you. Okay? No consequence again. And the third element, in my opinion, it says, this is how much money you get, this is how much money I get, it's a transparent agreement, this is how long that agreement lasts. That's basically it, right? That is how I protect myself. I can get rid of you without consequence, that's what that protection is, in a franchise scenario, because you only have so many areas to sell, so if one is not performing, you must get rid of them, or help them. So it said, like, that's it. 1,500 quid. Think how solicitors think and act and how their businesses are structured. They think in terms of time, billable time. Everything is time. If you draft up and scope a real world agreement based on what I just said, you can take that to a solicitor and say, look, I've already done the real world thinking. Draft that into a contractual agreement. Tell me how much it is. Well, you just did half the work. In my brain, that's half the price. Okay. Now, I can think of another example to counter that about timing when you choose to pursue your intellectual property. In the real world, you do it straight away before you've made any money. I have met people like that. I have sat in boardrooms with a business, the one I'm thinking of, who started up, great start, 150,000 turnover year one, 5 directors in the room, 2 intellectual property partners from a firm, and me. I'm asked to come along to, well, I don't know why I was asked to come along, be the outsider, I suppose. And I listened for 3 hours to, this is the process, this is the franchise process, this is how it's done, this is what must be in place before you can sell one, this is, and so on. And I accept that there is a perfect way to do a franchise rollout, and we'd all love to do that. She was talking there about £20,000 worth of fees, right? I'm sitting there thinking, I've seen your accounts. What are you paying for this with, right? It goes down the what if, must do things right, legal process, goes out of business. Has a lot of protection and a manual and an agreement for something that you can't actually sell. One last example, do not do this. I go and meet a business in Exeter in the IT industry. I walk in, he's hired the whole room. He ain't got any money yet, no customers. Hires the whole floor of the office. I walk in one end, he's at the other end. 1 table, 1 chair. Sit down with him, young guy. He says, I'm going to franchise an IT company. I said, where is it? Where is it? There's no one here. He says, next 3 months they're going to go and sell 10 franchises, £5,000 each. Show me your manual. I haven't got one. Show me your agreement. I haven't got one. It's like, well, this is not how this works. I'm going to go and do it. I leave. I come back 3 months later. There's people in the room and he's sold 10 franchises at £5,000 a piece. Then he goes and pays for all his intellectual property. Why could he do that? Because he had a belief and a philosophy that he could communicate clearly, be with me, pay me to be part of the business. They signed up to what he had as a vision. There's right ways to do things, there's also the right time to do things. But of course I end this by saying, get proper legal advice.